consider that spirituality, it doesn't have to show up in one particular way, because oftentimes people are very convinced that, spirituality has to show up in this particular form. Like it has to look like some spiritual teacher, you know, some spiritual teacher sitting and talking in a particular way, right? Like the classic spiritual teacher. Consider that there's many spiritual teachers that can be popping up into your consciousness moment to moment, right? And you can have different people teaching you different lessons. Some people are meant to be like just like a pop into your experience, and then they pop out, and that's it. And you'll never see them again, and that's fine. That's, in some ways, that's the essence of a real relationship, is non-attachment. So maybe somebody comes into your life for one day, maybe for a couple months, maybe even for a few years, right? And they pop in and they pop out. And you'll just kind of sense when you know that you both got what you needed from each other. But consider that, some people are just meant to teach you certain things, and then that's the end of the relationship. And that won't be the end of anything other than a new beginning, of course, because when something comes to an end, there's going to be a beginning, right? Now, anyways, that's a whole nother video. But what I really want to share in this video is that consider that, even in your own life, how you start to manifest, when you start to kind of flourish, how you believe you're really meant to be flourishing, like when your true self starts to come out, right? We have all these ideas and concepts in the mind of how that needs to look. Or if we look at others or who can help us and who can teach us, it's like, oh, that has to look in this way. This person needs to be playing some spiritual teacher role. Not necessarily. It could play as some spiritual teacher role. It could be the complete opposite. Oftentimes you see, many people that look the opposite of a spiritual teacher, yet they're probably the ones that could be teaching the most about spirituality. And of course, what I mean by spirituality is, of course, life. Hello? Is it not the case that life and spirituality are one? Isn't that the case? Tell me that what is really ultimately this distinction between life and spirituality? Who created this distinction? Let me ask you this. Who invented the distinction between life and spirituality? Of course, what I have come to see, who created that distinction? The ego. And of course, you can have the spiritual ego saying that, there is some difference between these two things. Really? Like, there is not. There's really not any difference between these two things, if you look at it, ultimately speaking. And oftentimes when we drop the spiritual ego, when we drop the concept in the mind of what it needs to look like, what you'll begin to find is that actually they are one. Spirituality and life are one. So you can even turn that into a concept like, oh, we're all one, and then you go out and do many things that you don't really want to do, or chase after people, or get validation, or pretend to play some role that you never really signed up for. You never signed up for that role. You didn't really want to play that role, but you told yourself, you've convinced yourself of the fact that you do want to play that role. Now, anyways, consider that it doesn't need to show up in some way that you believe it has to show up. And what do I mean when I say show up? I mean whatever you want who you want to show up, yeah, the way I said that, who you want to show up as in the world. Consider that it doesn't have to necessarily show up in one particular way that you believe it has to show up, because or it needs to look like it. And I know that I've said in another video that you can have it exactly how you want it to look like. And yes, although that is true, from another perspective, it's so critical to, paradoxically also understand that everything is a symbol. So the essence of what your heart wants infinitely, and there's no end to this, by the way, it goes beautifully forever. The essence of what your heart wants infinitely doesn't need to take shape in that one way that you believe it has to take. So let me give you an example. So I'll be more specific, because sometimes people can hear that and it's like, oh, it's so general. Like, come on, be more specific. So let's say that you really want to manifest, a red Ferrari. A red Ferrari. God, I want to manifest this red Ferrari so bad. Let's just say. So let's just say, for example, that's what you want, right? Is a red Ferrari. Okay, so imagine that you genuinely believe that you have to do these specific tasks, and you have to struggle your way into getting this red Ferrari, and really just pushing your way into it, right? Whereas imagine in another sense, I don't know if you've heard this before, but this is going to be interesting because I've heard this before somewhere else, but I want to reword it in a particular way that just resonates for me. But imagine that there's another way to get that red Ferrari, and again, I know that this is probably something you've heard before, but imagine that there's a different path. And not only is there a different path to this red Ferrari, but at the same time though, imagine that there's so many other things. There's so many different other things that your heart wants as well, and on the way, you can experience all these other beautiful, amazing things, and then on the way to that red Ferrari, number one, you're going to manifest all these other things that you've set intentions for, that you wanted, that you probably forgot that you even wanted, maybe even things that you didn't even know that you wanted, but because you're in the environment of it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's resonating for me so much, and you go and you go in that direction, right? And you want that red Ferrari, right? And you still, of course, you're not forgetting about that red Ferrari. You still are conscious of the red Ferrari, but think about it like this. Let's just say that you also want a mansion. You also want to manifest a mansion or something, and you want to bring your family into this mansion. You want to maybe live with some friends in this mansion. You're having all these beautiful insights. You want to manifest a mansion. You want to manifest a red Ferrari, right? And thinking of that so egotistical. Well, honestly, in my personal opinion, nothing is egotistical. Everything, whatever shape or form what your heart wants, that is the most spiritually aligned path to take. Okay, it doesn't matter what it looks like. If it brings you more peace and joy and fulfillment and connectedness to who you really are, I would personally say that is the more spiritually aligned path to take, in comparison to doing the thing that you think you have to do, that you believe you have to do, yet that causes you lots of resistance and makes you feel like you're selling out your soul. If you're selling out your soul and you feel resistance on the inside, but you call it spiritual, is that really spiritual? In my personal opinion, no. But anyways, let's get on with the video. So imagine that you're manifesting all these other different things, right? That you want, whether consciously or unconsciously, and deliberate creation, or just on accident, you tapped into that vibrational frequency of what your heart actually wanted, right? And then let's just say that on the way to that red Ferrari, you manifest all these other things, but then also, not only did you manifest all these other things on the way to that red Ferrari, when you think about I just think this is so cool. When you manifest the red Ferrari, consider that red Ferrari is also just one stepping stone to all these other things, and that red Ferrari is something you're not even attached to. You have the red Ferrari, and then having that red Ferrari is simply another manifestation that is you experiencing that manifestation on the way to, let's just say, the mansion or the relationship or all these other things. So it's so you know what I mean? Like, imagine you're in that red Ferrari and you just like, you have it. You have the red Ferrari. You have it. And then you're not attached to it. It feels amazing. You feel peace. You feel content. And then again, so does that make sense? So like when you're in that energy of having the red Ferrari, right? It's just one little manifestation that's on the way to all these other beautiful things that you're also manifesting. So I just think that's really cool, because basically what I'm trying to communicate here in words is that every manifestation can be seen not as necessarily an end destination, but simply one stepping stone to the next manifestation, and then to the next manifestation, and then to the next manifestation, and then to the next manifestation, right? And you would think like, well, gosh, that doesn't sound very fun at all. For instance, that sounds like it's just an infinite chase of chasing after pleasure. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to fully enjoy every single moment, 100%, not 50%. I'm not even saying to like enjoy the moment, but then just be fantasizing about the next manifestation. That's a big trap I think you can fall into, is you're so hung up on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that you can't even enjoy what's happening in the moment now. So I'm not saying to just like be always stuck in your mind about the next manifestation and then not enjoy it now because, you know, there's always the next thing. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying enjoy each moment fully, and consider that every moment is not an end destination. Every moment is a practice, and each moment is actually you on the way to more of what your heart wants, and just more and more and more. And so I don't know, what could be more beautiful than that? What could be more beautiful than just, you know, creating more of what you want on a consistent basis, to the point where you're able to experience each moment fully, but at the same time though, you're not hung up on it as well, which I guess those are the same thing. But you're also conscious of the fact that yes, like you're fully enjoying the process. Yes, you're fully here in the now. But the now is also infinite expansion towards more of what you want. Okay, so that's just some food for thought. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. I think it's an incredibly beautiful way to perceive of it, because it includes the perspective that there's infinite, much more effortless and easeful aligned paths on the way to what you want. And it also considers that you can have each manifestation be one stepping stone to every other manifestation. So in other words, every manifestation is connected with every other manifestation. They all work together holistically and simultaneously. So that red Ferrari actually supports you in having that mansion. And then the mansion also, and it all supports each other. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, right now the only way to do so is by booking in a single session. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.